The Clone Army was the military force that defended the Republic in the Clone Wars. However, after Sidious's rise to power, they were quickly phased out and the cloning facilities shut down. However, what would have happened if the Kaminoans didn't accept this betrayal? Now, in Legends, this did actually happen in a way. The Kaminoans, following the rise of the Empire, decided to go rogue and secretly engineer their own clone army to rise up against Sidious's empire. Now, this was brought on as Sidious had taken complete control over their world, and they had no interest in being a pawn of this new empire. So we're going to be saying that following Sidious's rise to power, he decrees that the cloning facilities must be shut down, and Kamino will become an imperial province. Now, this in turn angers the Kaminoans. They had in one swoop taken away from them their freedom and their primary source of income. For this reason, they secretly begin engineering their own clone army, which is going to rise up against Sidious's occupation of the world. Now from here, we're going to say that the Kaminoans build a small army. Now this is actually going to take around 5 years. By this point, Sidious's empire is still expanding, hunting down Jedi and Separatist holdouts. For this reason, an uprising on Kamino would come as a shock. But we're gonna say this new army catches the Imperial stationed on the world by surprise. It would oust the Empire from the world entirely. Now, they're in a very difficult situation. If they remain on the world, they will surely be destroyed. As soon as the Empire got word of the rebellion, they would be sending a fleet to attack the facilities and drown the Kaminoans and their rebel armies in the perilous depths of the planet. For this reason, the Kaminoans and their army need to leave the world ASAP. So we're going to say that they escape Kamino and head into the unknown regions, taking with them the Jango Fett DNA template as well as much of the data and equipment before scuttling their own cities, meaning the Empire no longer has anything on the world to occupy as it's basically just ocean. Now you may be thinking that the Kaminoans would go to the foundations of the Rebel Alliance. However, I think that this is very unlikely. For one, the rebellion is still very small at this point, and incredibly unorganised. Also, they want to restore the Republic. Now, the Republic, when back in power, would never allow a clone army to be formed again, so joining then would be useless. So we're going to say that the Kaminoans come upon the decision that instead of making clones to fight for others, they're going to create clones to fight for them, and the Kaminoans are going to take power. Now, we're gonna say their new secret facilities begin churning out clones, and the Empire isn't able to find them, and they don't really believe them to be much of a threat. You know, with the CIS holdouts and rogue Jedi still running amok, now the Kaminoans will begin to produce a huge army, meaning they have basically unlimited amounts of manpower. But there's a problem. They still require ships, weapons, armor, and vehicles, and there's only so much they can do with their resources. Luckily, the Empire has created a large pool of potential allies for them to choose from. For example, the Mon Calamari remnants from the Empire's attack on Mon Cala. At this point, they still have very weak ties to the Rebel Alliance, so joining the Kaminoans may seem like a good idea. So potentially we could see Mon Cala ships joining the Kaminoans' cause. That's not all though, there's also a wealth of old weapon companies that have been spurned by the Empire. Geonosian weaponsmiths or the Techno Union for example, primarily alien industrialists, some of whom serve the CIS, and are now being persecuted by the Empire because of that. So with this alliance of alien industrialists bringing their remaining assets and leaders together, combined with the overwhelming manpower of this clone army, this new military force can begin to grow. And it'll probably be ready in like 10 to 12 years. Now by this time, the first Death Star is complete and destroyed by the rebels, assuming they do still manage to do it without the support of the entirety of the Mon Cala fleet. Now this is their opportune moment to strike. At this point, the Empire is in chaos with most of their senior military staff wiped out. Meanwhile, the rebellion's still pretty weak and not prepared to assume any kind of power. For this reason, a new galactic superpower being thrown into the mix would have a huge advantage. I believe this new army would begin by subduing the Outer Rim. These worlds are not strongly grasped by the Empire and are generally underfunded with only small military forces. Not only this, but Outer Rim worlds have huge alien populations and this would be ideal. This new Kaminoan Empire is primarily controlled by aliens and is using humanoids to fight for them. And this is going to be a very welcome change from the anti-alien agenda the Empire has been pushing for nearly 2 decades now. Essentially, the Empire would be forced to fight a war on 2 fronts, the Rebellion and the Kaminoan Coalition. Ultimately, I believe that this would be a hard fight. They would likely take the Outer Rim relatively quickly, as inexperienced military officials lack the experience to hold them back. And every world they take, they gather more resources and more manpower. As a side note, the clones are a far superior fighting force to the Imperial stormtroopers. So although Kaminoans won't have the numbers, they will have the better soldier. Eventually, I believe the rebellion would probably be consumed by the coalition, simply because many in the alliance were in favour of a far stronger authoritarian action against the Empire. So a portion of the rebels' agents and troops would likely join the Kaminoans' cause, and the rest would probably fall apart. Ultimately, I find it very hard to believe that the Empire would be able to beat this unstoppable opponent, even with Vader and Sidious and the Imperial fleet. The truth is, they were too disorganised. And by the time they did reorganise themselves, the Kaminoans would already have such a strong foothold in the galaxy. Despite this, I do believe that it would be merciless and definitely heighten tensions between aliens and humanoids, and it would definitely not be an easy fight, especially as the Kaminoan coalition pushes further and further towards the core. But what do you think would happen? Could this Kaminoan coalition defeat the Empire? And what would a new government look like? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, please remember to like, share and sub, as it's really appreciated and it helps the channel grow. Also don't forget to follow me on Twitter at TheLawGuy and tick the bell for regular updates. Thanks again for watching, really do hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.